Our lesson for today is all about UML diagrams, in particular to use case modeling. The learning objective is that to show a use case model based on the data captured in the user's requirement identification process. And the overview of this discussion is to identify what is UML in software requirements. And this focuses on detail modeling for use cases to document the internal steps within a use case. And in my example, I'll be using the technodental billing system. But before that, we need to know what is a UML or a Unified Modeling Language. According to uml.org, Unified Modeling Language helps you specify, visualize, and document models of software systems, including their structures and design, in a way that meets all of these requirements. You can also use UML for business modeling and modeling of other non-software systems too. So UML diagram is a diagram based on the Unified Modeling Language with the purpose of visually representing a system along with the main actors, rules, actions, artifacts, or classes, in order to better understand, alter, maintain, or even document information about the system. In UML 2.0 version, it defines 13 diagrams divided into 3 categories. 6 diagrams types represent static application structure, 3 represent general types of behavior, and 4 represent different aspects of interaction. With these 3 categories, number 1 is the structure diagrams. It includes the class diagram, object diagram, component diagram, composite structure diagram, package diagram, and deployment diagram. And these diagrams will be useful in part of the system requirements. So, in the behavior diagram, this includes the use case diagram, by which used by some methodologies using during requirements gathering. It also includes activity diagram and state machine diagram. And the third one is interaction diagram. All derived from more general behavior diagram, which includes the sequence diagram, communication diagram, timing diagram, and interaction overview diagram. This diagram also defines interaction between the system and its actors. The use cases and actors in use case diagram describe what the system does and how the actors use it, but not how the system operates internally. In addition, use case diagram illustrate the context and requirements of either an entire system or the important part of the system. So, in use case diagram model the behavior of a system and help to capture the requirements of the system. And likewise, use case diagram describe the high-level function and scope of the system. So, you can model a complex system with a single use case diagram, or create many use case diagrams to model the components of the system. You would typically develop use case diagram in the early phases of the project and refer to them throughout the development process. So, when you use the use case diagram, it is very helpful when we are going to start a project or before starting a project. You can create use case diagram to model a business so that all participants in the project share an understanding of the workers, customers, and activities of the business. While gathering requirements, you can create use case diagram to capture the system requirements and to represent to others what the system should do. And during the analysis and design phases of your system implementation, you can also use the use cases and actors from your use case diagrams to identify the classes that the system requires. And likewise, in the during testing phase, you can also use the use case diagram to identify tests for the system. So, there are model elements in use case diagram. Of course, the first one is the use case, which describe a function that a system performed to achieve the user's goal. A use case must yield an observable result that is of value to the user of the system. How about the actor or the actors? Okay, the actors represent a rule of a user that interacts with the system that you are modeling. The user can be a human user, an organization, a machine, or another external system. Then the next one is subsystem. So in UML model, subsystem are a type of stereotype component that represent independent behavioral units in a system, which subsystem are used in class, components, and use case diagram to represent large-scale component in the system that you are modeling. And finally, the relationship in use case diagram. So in UML, a relationship in a connection between model elements is a type of model elements that adds semantics to the model by defining the structure and behavior between the model elements. So, with my example, I have here the objective of the technodental billing system. So, with that, we have the general objective, which it stated there that generally develop a web-based billing system that gives accurate computation of charges. And with this, we have the specific objective. So, during the system requirements, the students are in need of finding the company first and then try to create an objective of their study in order for them to give a solution to their community-based problem. So with that, we have the specific objective. Number one is that to develop and implement a centralized database web-based patient billing system that it will process the charges automatically and accurately. Then, number two, real-time and automatic process. It will eliminate data redundancy and up-to-date changes to manage large amount of data in hard copy format. And finally, we can tracking and monitoring closely to avoid cache issues at the end of the process and improve the overall process throughout as well as the billing accuracy. So, with this problem stated, it has using the use case diagram. So actually, when the secretary or the user log in the system, these are the menu in the system. So as you can see, there is a patient services or our services, billing, certificate, and history, which is the added feature of the system. So the two there are just an added feature. So as you can see, based on that, the secretary will have the patient information as part of the use case. So our services, billing transaction actually, and then generate data, a dental certificate, and generate medical history when necessary or needed. And with that, to expound furthermore with the transaction of the user, so you have it in there, the secretary or the user log in and can view the menu. So he can add the patient, then all the information of the patient will be added, necessary and relevant information. Then after that, the secretary will try to look for what services or procedure that the patient is needed. So as you can see, there are some or the some procedures in which the patient is the patient can choose. Then after that, after the procedure is being done, it will automatically issue billing transaction or billing issuance of billing after everything is already done. So it depends on the services or procedure of the patient. Then actually, the generation of medical certificate and history, history is just an added feature of the system. When the patient will ask their medical certificate if it is needed by the company wherein they are working. And likewise, the medical history. So for the medical history is actually, they will know what particular and specific tooth having a certain procedure. So in that case, once they transfer to another dental clinic, the doctors will exactly know what particular or what would be the what you call that the operations or procedure is being done in the other clinic. So I think with this particular use case, this will help the student or the one who will propose the system to create an implementation that would be the solution of the problem. Thank you and God bless.